Palestinian death toll climbs to almost 44,000. And World Economic Leaders and G20 Summit with Global South support reaffirmation. Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, Brendan Lepore. The Palestinian death toll from the ongoing Israeli attacks in Gaza has risen to 43,922. According to a statement released by the Gaza-based health authorities, this brings the total number of injuries to 103,900. Within 24 hours, at least 50 Palestinians were killed. At least 17 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli air raid on a house near Kamal Adwan Hospital in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza. Israeli attacks also caused casualties, including children in Gaza City in northern Gaza, the Nusayrat refugee camp in the central, and in Al-Mawasi area and the Rafah in the south. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, released a video on Monday showing its attacks on a residential building in Beit Lahia the day before. The IDF claimed the attack, which resulted in at least 72 deaths, was aimed at destroying local military targets. Leaders of the world's largest economies ended their two-day G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro with a statement supporting the priorities of the Global South. In their joint statement, the group underscored the need to slow global warming and reduce poverty. They agreed to work together to ensure that ultra-high net worth individuals are effectively taxed. The communique states that progressive taxation is one of the key tools to reduce domestic inequalities, promote strong, sustainable balance and inclusive growth, and facilitate the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, host of the G20 Summit, focused the talks around three key pillars: social inclusion and tackling hunger and poverty, energy transitions and climate action, and reforming global governance. The G20 called to expand the United Nations Security Council beyond its 5 current permanent members. The group also called for a ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon. President Joe Biden and President Lula met on the summit's sidelines, underscoring the urgent need to address the climate crisis. Brazil ended the summit by passing the baton to South Africa, the next G20 president. Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a warning to the United States on Tuesday, lowering the threshold for a nuclear strike just days after the administration of Joe Biden reportedly allowed Ukraine to fire American missiles deep into Russia. The updated doctrine, formerly known as the Basics of State Policy in the Field of Nuclear Deterrence, outlines the threats that would make Russia, the world's biggest nuclear power, contemplate using such weapons. The new doctrine said Russia would consider a nuclear strike if it or its ally, Belarus, faced aggression with the use of conventional weapons that created a critical threat to their sovereignty or their territorial integrity. The previous doctrine, set out in a 2020 decree, said Russia may use nuclear weapons in case of a nuclear attack by an enemy or a conventional attack that threatened the existence of the state. The war in Ukraine, which entered its 1,000th day on Tuesday, has triggered the gravest confrontation between Russia and the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. Considered to be the closest to two Cold War superpowers, came to intentional nuclear war. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced the launch of the Global Clean Energy Alliance at the sidelines of the G20 Summit in Rio. This partnership with the Brazilian government and other countries aims to accelerate global energy transition efforts. Besides Brazil, Australia, Barbados, Canada, Chile, Colombia and France are also the initial participants in the alliance. Also joining Germany, Morocco, Norway, Tanzania and the African Union.
But while clean energy investment is growing in the UK and in some others, it's flatlining in emerging and developing countries, despite being home to 2/3 of the world's population. These countries received just 15% of global clean energy investments in recent years. So the finance mission will bring us together to change that.
The United States and the European Union will also partner with the UK in this initiative. The final day of the G20 Summit was reserved for discussions on sustainable development and the transition to cleaner energy, one of the key pillars of Brazil's presidency at the G20. United States President-elect Donald Trump has announced the appointment of Dr. Mehmet Oz, a surgeon and TV celebrity known as Dr. Oz, to lead the country's massive public health insurance program. He will lead the United States Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. Dr. Oz is the latest of Trump's high-profile nominations for key government posts. Several public figures announced by Trump earlier, including Fox News host Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Health Secretary, and billionaire Elon Musk to head the government's cost-cutting unit. Dr. Oz was once in the American spotlight when his health recommendations, especially regarding COVID-19 and weight loss, often mocked by the medical community. As CMS Administrator, Dr. Oz will be responsible for a federal agency that provides health coverage to more than 160 million Americans, nearly half of the nation's population. CMS also employs about 6,700 people, had spending of $1.48 trillion last year.
Made us miss him even more.
Elon Musk's SpaceX launched its sixth Starship test flight to space on Tuesday from Texas, eyeing an array of improvements on the rocket as U.S. President-elect Donald Trump watched in person. The roughly 122-meter-tall rocket system, designed to ultimately land astronauts on the moon and ferry crews to Mars, lifted off from SpaceX's sprawling rocket development site in Boca Chica. Starship in space traveled around the Earth before a daytime splashdown in the Indian Ocean. Starship last month demonstrated the novel catch-landing method for the first time, where it was captured mid-air by a pair of giant mechanical chopstick arms attached to SpaceX's launch tower. This signaled the achievement of a key milestone in its reusable design. Trump's attendance signals a deepening alliance with Musk, who stands to benefit from Trump's election victory. The billionaire entrepreneur is expected to wield extraordinary influence in a role Trump assigned him to help make the federal government more efficient, as he also benefits from a range of government contracts. ASEAN, with its population of nearly 690 million people, is recognized as a critical region in the fight against climate change. The region faces immense opportunities due to its rapidly growing economies, but these are tempered by unprecedented risks from climate-related impacts. Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability Minister Rasmi calls upon strategic regional collaboration among ASEAN member states to find solutions in enhancing climate resilience.
We also recognize that as a region, ASEAN is very much exposed to climate change because of our exposure to the sea. Countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, we are at the mercy of climate change, and if we do not manage to take action, then we will also be among the first regions to bear the brunt of climate change. Recognizing that our environmental challenges are interconnected, we are dedicated to strengthening cooperation within ASEAN. By sharing knowledge, expertise, and financial resources, we ensure that no nation is left behind in the transition towards a more sustainable future.
He said in opening remarks at the ongoing United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC Conference of Parties, COP29, taking place in Baku, Azerbaijan. 5 arrested over plot to kill Brazilian President Da Silva. There are more coming up next. Brazilian police on Tuesday arrested 5 people, including a member of former President Jair Bolsonaro's government, suspected of involvement in an alleged plan to kill then-President-elect Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and his vice president in 2022, days before they took office. The arrests were the first time in the investigation that federal police have mentioned a plot to kill Lula and Geraldo Alckmin, his choice as vice president, and staged a coup to stop him returning to power. Most of those investigated are military personnel with special forces training. Federal police officers carried out 5 arrest warrants on Tuesday, as well as 3 search and seizure warrants and other 15 precautionary measures. The police said that the suspects under investigation had planned for an institutional crisis management office to be installed in order to manage problems arising from the coup. They also plan to seize and kill the Supreme Court justice if they succeeded. About 2,000 people were arrested over the unrest in the capital, Brasilia. Almost most were later released. Others have been convicted by the Supreme Court on charges of an attempted coup, among other crimes. More than 24 suspected gang members were killed in Haiti's capital on Tuesday after residents joined police to fight off an attempted overnight attack on an affluent hillside suburb of Port-au-Prince. The suburb of Pétionville was closed off on Tuesday as residents barricaded streets and asked those not from the area to stay home as they mobilized, some with machetes and hammers in hand, to protect the district from another gang invasion. Haiti's underfunded national police has shed thousands of members in recent years. Haiti's government had in 2022 called for international support to help its police fight the powerful gangs, who are accused of mass sexual violence, ransom kidnappings, extortion, child recruitment, and blocking off the flow of key supplies. The United Nations Security Council approved a support mission last October, but it has so far deployed just a fraction of the promised personnel. Haitian leaders have pushed for it to be transformed into a peacekeeping mission to secure more funding. Thousands have been killed in the gang conflict and more than 700,000 internally displaced. Aggravating already dire food insecurity has seen some 6,000 plunge into famine-level hunger. Air pollution in India's capital Delhi has soared to extremely severe levels, choking residents and engulfing the city in thick smog. Monitors recorded pollution levels of 1,500 on the Air Quality Index, or AQI, 15 times the level the World Health Organization, WHO, considers satisfactory for breathing. The toxic air has disrupted flight services and had already prompted authorities to shut schools and ban construction work in the city. The city has also banned the entry of non-essential trucks into Delhi and has asked all offices to ask 50% of their staff to work from home. The Indian Meteorological Department reported that the shift of the fog layer to the state of Uttar Pradesh has slightly improved the visibility in Delhi. However, visibility in Agra, the capital of Uttar Pradesh state, located southeast of Delhi, dropped to 0. India's famous monument, the Taj Mahal, was also blocked from view due to toxic fog for almost a week. Experts warned that the situation could get worse in Delhi in the coming days, saying more severe measures may be needed to combat the city's pollution problem. United States aviation giant Boeing sent out its first redundancy notifications yesterday as part of a previously announced plan to cut its global workforce by 10%. Boeing intends to cut almost 2,200 jobs in the U.S. state of Washington, which is home to many of its oldest factories. Companies in the U.S. are required by law to submit a worker adjustment and retaining notification, or WARN notice, to local authorities 60 days before any layoffs. In its notice, Boeing said it expects to start laying people off permanently starting 20th December. A total of 2,199 people will be affected. The group has been plagued by production quality problems and has just endured a strike lasting more than 50 days that paralyzed 2 crucial factories. Boeing's employees numbered some 170,000 people at the end of last year, with close to 67,000 of them in Washington. In other news, Iraq will begin its first full national census in more than 3 decades today. It's a pivotal moment as it looks to gather demographic data for future planning and development. Now, the census, the first full one since Saddam Hussein was president in 1987, aims to provide a more comprehensive count of Iraq's population, estimated to exceed 43 million people by the end of 2024. Attempts at conducting a national census were delayed by years of conflict, instability and disagreement among political factions. With the country now in a period of stability, authorities hope the process will be completed successfully. Ethnic groups in contested areas like the northern city of Kirkuk, home to Arabs, Kurds, Turkmen, and a valuable part of Iraq's oil fields, oppose it because it might reveal demographics that would undermine political ambitions. The data gathered will be used to guide decisions in areas such as infrastructure development, education, healthcare, and social services. The census will feature only one question regarding religious affiliation and none about ethnic background or sectarian affiliation. Preliminary results will be announced within 24 hours and final results released in 2 to 3 months. A teenager who narrowly escaped after the Taliban returned to power in Afghanistan 3 years ago won the prestigious Kids' Rights Prize for her fight for women's rights. Nila Ibrahimi, 17, followed the likes of environmental activist Greta Thunberg and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Malala Yousafzai to claim the International Children's Peace Prize. After recording a powerful protest song that went viral online, she continues to inspire other Afghan girls to assert their rights and stand up to the injustices they face via public speaking and advocacy at global events. Taliban authorities have implemented stricter laws since returning to power in August 2021, following the withdrawal of US-led forces. Women and girls are no longer able to study beyond primary school, go to parks, gyms or beauty salons, and are advised to leave their homes only with a male chaperone. A recent morality law also banned women from speaking loudly in public. The United Nations has labeled the situation gender apartheid, but the Taliban government has rejected concerns as unfounded and propaganda based on the say of a few escaped women. In sports, Pep Guardiola signs contract to extend stay at Man City. Stay with us. Welcome back. And in sports, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has signed a new contract to extend his stay at the Premier League champions until 2026. Guardiola's current deal, signed in 2022, was due to expire at the end of this season. The new contract reportedly includes an option for a further year. Guardiola has signed extensions in May 2018, November 2020, and November in 2022. The manager's last 2 contract extensions were agreed in November when travelling to Abu Dhabi, the home nation of the club's owner, Sheikh Mansour. The 53-year-old who joined the club in 2016 has led City to 6 league titles, 2 FA Cups and a Champions League triumph as part of their treble win in 2023. 2023, along with the FIFA Club World Cup and 4 League Cups. The Spaniard-managed boyhood club Barcelona from 2008 to 2012 and spent 3 years in charge of German giants Bayern Munich, winning 3 league titles at each club before joining City. He is the longest-serving current manager in the Premier League after Jurgen Klopp left Liverpool in the summer. City are second in the Premier League table, 5 points behind Liverpool after 11 games.
Japan's march to the 2026 World Cup continued on Tuesday as Hajime Moriyasu's side handed China a 3-1 defeat in Xiamen to notch up a 5th win in Asia's 3rd round of preliminaries. Koki Ogawa scored with a header in each half to move the Japanese onto 16 points from 6 games and further cement their place at the top of Group C.
The top 2 finishers in each of Asia's 3 preliminary groups qualify for the World Cup, and Japan are now on the verge of confirming their place at their 8th consecutive finals. Japan had thrashed China 7-0 in their previous meeting in September, and Moriyasu's side went ahead in 39 minutes when Ogawa powered his header from Takefusa Kubo's corner past Wang Dale. 6 minutes into stoppage time, the Japanese doubled their lead from another corner, Ko Itakura diving in to apply the finishing touch after Koki Machida had flicked on Junya Ito's pass from the right. Lin Liangming pulled one back for China 3 minutes after the restart, but a second header from Ogawa 6 minutes later sealed another win for the Japanese. Japan are now 10 points clear at the summit, with Australia second.
Australia needed a late equaliser from Kusini Yangi to claim a 2-2 draw away to Bahrain in Asian qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup on Tuesday.
Yangi had opened the scoring inside the first 40 seconds of the match, punishing a poor back pass from Bahrain defender Syed Bakir. Mahdi Abdul-Jabbar then stunned the Socceroos in the 75th minute with the first touch shot from 40 yards out, catching Matthew Ryan off his line to level the scoring. Just 2 minutes later, Abdul-Jabbar netted his second to give the hosts the lead as Bahrain looked set to complete a clean sweep over Australia, having earned a surprise 1-0 win in the Gold Coast in September. Portsmouth striker Yangi, however, made the Bahrains pay for some more poor defending, finding an equaliser in the 6th minute of stoppage time to rescue a point for Tony Popovic's side. The result sees the Socceroos remain second in the standings, 9 points behind runaway Group C leaders Japan and 1 point ahead of Indonesia, who pulled themselves into contention with a 2-0 victory over Saudi Arabia. Bahrain, meanwhile, sit 5th, equal on 6 points with Indonesia and Saudi Arabia, but behind on goal difference.
Saudi Arabia has unveiled its design plans for the King Salman Stadium, a 92,000 capacity facility in Riyadh, set to be the showpiece for the 2034 World Cup. The Saudi Reports Ministry unveiled a promotional video made with computer-generated imagery to offer a first look at the stadium, which is scheduled to be completed in the 4th quarter of 2029.
The stadium is set to serve as the main base of the Saudi national team and will be part of a sports complex featuring an indoor sports hall, an Olympic-sized pool and other facilities that are designed to blend in with the lush landscape of the adjacent King Abdulaziz Park. Although still not officially confirmed by FIFA, Saudi Arabia are almost certain to win the rights to host the 2034 World Cup, having been the only country to formally submit a bid before the deadline in late 2023. The King Salman Stadium, designed by leading architectural firm Populous, is poised to redefine global sports and entertainment infrastructure. It is a flagship project of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 plan to transform the nation into an international sports and culture hub.
And in tennis, Rafael Nadal could not conjure the old magic as the 22 times Grand Slam champion lost a Davis Cup singles for the first time in 20 years as he went down to Dutchman Botic van der Zandschulp in the last match of his career on Tuesday. On an emotionally charged evening, the 38-year-old played the opening rubber of the quarter-final tie but lost 6-4, 6-4 despite raucous support from his adoring fans.
Spain's new tennis king Carlos Alcaraz leveled the tie by beating Talon Crespor 7-6, 6-3. Had Alcaraz and Marcel Granollers beaten Wesley Koolhof and Van der Zandschulp, the hosts would have kept alive the hope of a fairy tale ending to Nadal's career by reaching Friday's semi-final. But it was not to be, as Koolhof, also playing the last event of his career, played out of his skin to inspire the Dutch to a 7-6, 7-6 win. Nadal, who has featured in 4 Davis Cup winning teams for Spain, had won 29 of his previous 30 singles in the team event, his only previous loss in his first tie in 2004. The clay court king, who last month announced he was ending his glittering career after the Davis Cup Final 8 in Malaga, showed flashes of his former brilliance while the mind and body were willing. But it was not the same Nadal who dominated the men's game in the past 2 decades. Nadal had shed tears as the anthems were played before the tie and was given a standing ovation after defeat.
In other news, a jury heard the final legal arguments on Tuesday in a civil case against mixed martial arts MMA star Conor McGregor, who has denied in a Dublin court that he sexually assaulted a woman. The plaintiff, Nikita Han, alleges that McGregor sexually assaulted her on 9 December 2018.
McGregor, 36, told the court that he did not force anyone to do anything against their will. He had taken the stand for the first time on the 6th day of the trial. He also denied causing bruising to her in response to Han's lawyer accusing McGregor of pressing down so hard on her watch that there was still a mark on her skin days later. Han's lawyer, John Gordon, said Han was on antidepressants and drugged at the time of the alleged assault. Han's lawyer said earlier in the civil case that when she was referred to a sexual assault treatment unit the day after the alleged assault, a doctor was so concerned that he directed that photographs be taken of her injuries. Han has brought a civil action against McGregor after criminal charges were not pursued following an investigation by the police in Ireland.
Melaksanakan misi mempertahan maruah, mencipta secara setia, bertemu datangkan cinta dengan pasangan, membuat peluang untuk segerakan satu perjuangan, satu suara akan yang direncana di dada dalam memburu takkan keraguan, kekuatan bicara membebaskan sampai kendaraan.
And that wraps up all today this time around. In our top story, Palestinian death toll climbs to almost 44,000. Till then, I'm Brendan Paul, Malaysia Madani. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching. Take care.